Now, why does that solo work? It's because Don Felder is doing more than just hitting notes. His solo is kind of like creating a story. And if you think about it, all the real good solos out there, if you think about them, whether they're 10 seconds long or they're 3 minutes or even longer, if they're a really good one, they tell a story. They take you on a journey from beginning to end. It's a musical journey. Much like how a vocalist, when they're singing lyrics to a song, they're telling a story. In this way, the guitar is doing the exact same thing. So just like a good poem or a good book, this solo has structure that draws you in, doesn't it? So today I'm going to show you how he builds that story phrase by phrase. All right, you ready? Let's go. So every good story needs an introduction to get you comfortable. And so that's what these first two lines are. They're just two bends, right? But what they're doing is just saying, here I am. Now this is my part of the story in this song that I'm going to tell. So right away, Don draws you right in. So notice how Don plays the first bend and then he plays the second bend. They're identical, essentially the same thing, but he's setting a scene. He set a scene in the story, right? He's giving the listener something familiar to latch onto before he takes them anywhere else. And then we go on to the next phrase. But before we go to the next phrase, there's a space. This is important. This is probably the most important thing you want to try and get out of this whole little thing I'm doing here, is the space, the breath. Just like a vocalist, when they're singing. At some point, they got to take a breath and go on to the next thing. Well, in the guitar, what we do is we just do a pause. So you notice there's a pause here. So short, it's like a beat or two, but it is a pause that separates that from the next section. So most of us, and this is a little quick note here, most of us when we're practicing, we just want to play a flurry of notes. But Don lets it breathe, gives it space. Even that 2 notes right there gives the listener time to just process, what did I just hear? And this happens all like within what, a fraction of a second? But you get to process it a little bit and you're waiting for the next part, right? You definitely know that the solo's not over, but the story is just beginning. Now we go into the next phrase. So now we're getting into what we would call the conflict of the story. Those of you guys who are story writers know exactly what I'm talking about. He's playing these notes. It's creating a bit of a tension. The notes are starting to get a little bit more aggressive. If you stopped right here, the story wouldn't make sense, right? It just feels like there's got to be more to this, right? Like if we just did... That's it, done. No, it doesn't feel like it's over. It's like a pause. Again, here's that pause, here's that breath. And we're coming in now to the second phrase. So keep this in mind as you're writing your solos, you're creating your solos, you're jamming, or you're learning a solo, to understand that the guitar player is telling a story and how can I learn to interpret this story. Now we get on to the second phrase. There's a couple of things happening here that I really like. This continues that sort of conflict, but it's sort of answering what we just said. It's like a call and response, right? So you did the first part, which is sort of like a question, and the second part just sort of answered it. But they're tied together, right? They're in the same spot on the guitar, they're in the same key, they're playing the same pentatonic scale that we did to start the solo. But another thing that's really interesting that happens in here is there's backing vocals. Not vocals, backing vocal guitar. Guitar harmonies. Guitar can do the same thing as vocals. Here's where it's at. When you play this part, in between those, here's the other one. Now those are harmonies. So there's other notes going on in there, so there's multiple guitars, but you get the idea. It's kind of like how backing vocals respond to the vocals. So there's an answer. Again, there's a call and response. Main solo, response, main solo, response. So that's happening within that phrase. Really cool. And then we go on to the third phrase, right? Here's the third one. We're still rolling along, but we've gone down on the neck a little bit. Now we're jumping down a little bit. We're taking these chordal things here. We're just dropping it down. It kind of gives a little more grit. And then we're just continuing with this bluesy feel. And that's your third phrase. The next phrase comes after a breath. And there's your final phrase. But what happens at the end, you notice we rise up. Just like a vocalist is going to take that final high note, and that's what's happening here too. So it just beautifully goes from one part to another. This is what constitutes a really, really good solo, is when you can hear the solo telling a story. And you can hear how it moves from one part to another, just like a poem would, right? A limerick, right? It's moving from one to the other, to the other, to the other. So each of those phrases has meaning, and it tells you something. That's how you can construct your solos. Now I want to hear from you. Which guitarist do you think has the most vocal style? Is it Felder? Is it David Gilmour? Carlos Santana? Maybe B.B. King? Let's talk about that in the comments. Just kind of let me know. And also, if you want to learn the note for note how to play this one, if you look up there somewhere, you will see the link to how to play One of These Nights guitar solo. Good luck with that, and I'll see you in the next one.